Last week on the Nicoletti Show. Let's welcome him to the show. Tom, we did it. A lot of people that are in real estate are always trying to find that next thing that could break the barriers. How did you just see this?
I'm a student of this business. I'm always watching the market on various asset classes, looking for the next sale. I think lending is the one thing that you can do in any market because there are so many things that we can do to affect the risk of a loan.
You can control that risk so you know what direction you want to go or don't want to go, and you will pivot from there.
I'm looking for two value adds. The first one you mentioned, and that is developing outlots. All that simply means is that we have enough ground in front of the shopping center between the center and the road that we could carve off a chunk of that. Currently, we have one under contract right now. They are going to put a Dunkin' Donuts on it. That's a great opportunity for us, first of all, because we got a nice chunk of money for a piece of pavement in front of our center. But more than that, it also drives traffic into our center for the rest of our tenants. That adds value to the center.
That's different. I like that.
I think the other thing that I really enjoy about shopping centers is that these leases are most generally a triple net lease, which means we pass all the extra costs through to the tenant. As a private money lender, we don't eliminate risk, but we certainly have to mitigate. If you're lending to somebody and you're looking at that deal and you're going, God, I hope I don't end up with this, that's a mistake waiting to happen. We constantly have to look at what's the market doing and what is our competition doing and so forth, so that we can stay relevant and we can stay competitive with our products. It's very easy to make money in good markets, but you build most of your wealth in down markets.
Thank you again for coming on the show, Tom.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, in the Nicoletti studio. If you missed any of that episode from last week, you got to go back, check it out. Check it out on YouTube, Facebook, you name it. We'll drop the link tree there. Just jam-packed information, and we are always going to bring the best value to the listeners, the community, and the audience out there. And you can find all the content when you click, and we'll put up the QR code for you all over there. Click it right there, and you'll see it. And tonight, you don't want to miss this. You want to sit down, stay glued, whether you are new in investing or your team is growing 2 members, 10 members, 20 employees. This is the episode you really want to pay attention to, because I got my pen and paper for this type of episode, and we have on the great Bobby Suarez, the mega wholesaler, mega real estate investor down in Miami, Florida, who's going to share the inner workings and inside info on what it's like to run a team. I'm so excited. So we're going to jump right into this. So let's rock this thing. Hey, everybody. My name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida, and welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in their communities that educate, entertain, and inspire all things on Florida real estate, and always bringing the best in the game. Whether they're in the Florida market, the California market, Ohio, you name it, bringing on people that are focused, hard in their niche, growing teams, being in commercial, Airbnbs, pad split. We always want to provide the most value to the audience on how you can take your company to the next level. On my show today, I have the great Bobby Suarez. This guy is doing so many deals at a high volume rate, and he is growing a team, and it is really impressive to see. When you can see what Bobby is doing on social media, how he's engaging with his team, how he's collaborating with everybody, it's inspiring, and that's the kind of guest that we want to have so we can inspire you to all succeed in this business. So I'm excited, and without further ado, let's welcome Bobby to the show. Bobby, we did it.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for the introduction.
Yeah, of course. We have to. I mean, well-deserved. You've been doing this for a long time, and you're growing your team. You're a busy guy, and we are so honored to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Bobby, I'd love to hear a little bit of the story of how you got into real estate. I think it's very interesting. What was that journey early on for you?
So my journey in real estate started at the age of 19, 21 years ago. I started in the mortgage industry actually. I as a loan officer, and by the time I was 20, I opened my first mortgage company, and I did that till I was about 24 years old. And I was actually forced to stop doing it because that's when the market crashed in 2008, and I literally went bankrupt. Young, 24-year-old kid spending more money than I was making, taking on too much debt, not really being a good steward of money. So it was a big wake up call for me then. And then in 2010, 2011, I got back into the real estate side, but on the institutional world. We were the pioneers in the single family rental space, representing funds that started buying properties on a large scale for rental purposes. And we started representing smaller funds, and then we grew to start representing bigger funds like Colony American Homes, that's owned by Tom Barrett, and others throughout the way. And in 2014, that's when I decided to go on my own to open my own fix and flip operation. Honestly, I didn't even know what wholesaling was. Um, Wholesaling for me, I kind of stumbled upon it a few months after, through some friends, and here we are now. We're a full blown wholesale operation. We have a big fix and flip operation, and actually, so recently, I just raised 50 million for a hard money fund. So that's a new business that we're trying to grow also.
Wow, what was that like? I mean, that to me, I hear relationship building, right? Like the importance of that over a long term. How did you even get into that?
Yeah, so on the hard money side, I approached actually buddies that I used to work with, that I used to work for actually in the institutional side. And I wasn't an owner back then, to clarify. I was just part of the acquisitions department for these funds, right? And I reached out to some of the guys from back then, and we partnered up to do that business, and they helped also raise some of the capital themselves. But yeah, definitely through relationships. They obviously they trust me in this space, in this industry, so they feel comfortable obviously with me running that business, for them.
Absolutely. I hear that all the time about if you're looking to raise capital, raise funds, or even get into lending, or if you don't have your own money and you want to get with someone that can lend you the money, it's all the relationships in this business and being able to collaborate with them and show trust, right? It comes down to that trust in it. Bobby, I think this is fascinating. And I think the thing that we really want to narrow in on today is your internal structure with your team. When you started getting into fix and flips and getting in the side of growing your team, because at some point you were probably thinking, all right, we're going to start really getting big here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that hiring process. What was the hiring process like, and how have you really refined finding the right hires for your business?
So for me, it all started finding people that are better than me at things that I don't like doing, for example, or that I'm not good at, right? So my first hire, I think, was a lead manager, which is somebody that takes inbound calls for me, or was pretty much getting inbound leads for me and trying to schedule appointments for an acquisitions agent. And then at that point, I'm like, man, I got to keep growing. I don't know what else to do. So somebody in my mastermind, I'm a part of the collective genius. They suggested, hey, you should get the predictive index before you hire anybody else. So that way you start checking out, make sure their personalities match for the position I'm hiring. So I signed up for that. I ended up hiring recruiters because I didn't want to go through the hassle of hiring on my own. I did try it, and it was painful. And I'm all about trying to be as efficient as possible. So I hired a recruiter. He found me two more lead managers, and actually the lead manager that I had on board, I promoted him to COO. Very sharp gentleman. Actually had also institutional experience also, and was very good at building systems and processes. So he's the one that helped me scale the business. From there, I ended up hiring a TC. We hired a project manager, two dispo agents, and we've kept on hiring from there. He's no longer with me in the team. He ended up pursuing a personal goal and venture that he wanted. But now I have a COO and I have a team of about 20 individuals right now at the moment.
Yeah, and that's impressive. I mean, to get to that point, I'm sure that takes a lot of balancing for you of what do we need right now, and who do people need? Have you ever gotten in that position when you've hired somebody and then you realize that that person now needs an assistant for themselves to help delegate their tasks because you recognize, well, wait a second, I see your strengths. I see what you are good at. You shouldn't be doing these tasks. Let's get you somebody to help take those off your plate. Have you been through those scenarios?
Absolutely. So I've had my top acquisition agents that are crushing it. I mean, my top acquisition agents bring me 15 to 20 contracts on average every month. And we recently, for example, hired an assistant for one of them. And we saw that was working efficient. It was working really well. And now what I did is I hired for my other acquisition agents, I hired like kind of like a junior acquisitions agent that helps them out with everything that they're maybe not as good at. Salespeople naturally are not good with details, putting notes into Salesforce, making sure their calendar is on point. So I hired kind of like an administrator. This person keeps all the acquisition agents organized, on check. Not only that, when they go to appointments, they do kind of like a quality control call where they're calling, hey, did the acquisition agent show up on time? Did you get an offer while they were there? Were you happy? Is there anything that we could get better at? And we do that with every appointment to see if maybe we could even revive that transaction, or to know if my team is slipping or not. So I want to make sure that they're performing at a high level, because we spend a ton of money on marketing. I spend a lot of money. I wouldn't call it spend. I invest a lot of money in marketing for my company and the team, and I expect for them to be at the top level of their game at all times.
I love what you just touched on there, and we're going to go back to a couple points, but the difference between spending versus investing on marketing. What a mindset that is, because a lot of investors, realtors, people in our industry view it as money just flowing out of our pockets, right? But you're like, no, this is obviously going to be the long-term play. When did that really hit you as this is an investment versus spending?
Yeah, man. Honestly, it hit me when being around other high level individuals in the masterminds that I'm a part of, and just hearing them talk how they operated their business. And actually, there was some good friends of mine that they're based out of Phoenix, Arizona, and I love the way that they ran their organization and their business. And I literally told them, man, if I could copy your model, I would greatly appreciate it. And they allowed me to, man. They're like, yo, sure, welcome. Come over here if you want. Shadow us, do whatever you got to do. And I literally, copied their entire business model, their marketing models, everything. And they're the ones that kind of, taught me, hey, this is an investment. You're not spending money. Because at first, with the amount of money that we're spending, it could get a little scary, honestly, man. You have a couple bad months, and you're not you're not gonna end well. So it was a little bit of a mind shift change by being around other successful guys. Definitely helped for sure.
Yeah, and I can totally resonate with the idea of you're just shelling out money, because after a while you want the return on your investment.
For
And
sure.
when you're spending that money and nothing's coming, you're thinking, well, what are we doing here? However, it's that long-term play. How do we implement this long term? And then eventually you get the return on that investment, but it takes a while. It takes a while.
And not only are you going to invest it, you got to make sure you have the right people to close those deals and bring them in. Because I've seen other guys, out there where, yeah, they're spending money, but their salespeople are no good. So they're literally burning their cash.
Yeah, and you're right about the marketing. You can do all this marketing, but you have to have those pieces in place to close the deal. And I love what you talked about, quality control and the feedback that you're trying to get from the people that you're reaching out to. I think I touched on that on a show about quality control with my team. Something that I had to sit everybody down and I had to say, we have to focus on the quality, making sure spelling, names, everything's sent, asking people for things, being efficient. Because when you do that in return, it's like, wait a second, the customer service experience is at another level. And the training behind this, how are you guys implementing training? Are you doing it like every week? Are you doing it every month, quarterly, having meetings? Are you kind of doing it on the spot? What's your method?
Yeah, so it really depends. I apologize. My dogs are barking over here. Somebody's knocking.
They love the question.
Yeah. So it depends on the department. Our salespeople we're training once a week. We also have a sales director, which they pretty much do daily huddles in the morning. They go over, hey, what happened yesterday on your appointments? Let's get you ready for today. They're role playing. All my sales team is together on the phone calls. And everybody else, we're just always touching up on our meetings. I'm like, me as a leader, hey, anything that we could get better at. What happened last week that maybe we could work on, that we could make changes to and pivot. And another thing that you had mentioned when, I don't want to change the topic, but you had mentioned, what do we look for when we're hiring also, when we got the predictive index? Another thing that's important to me as a leader, more than skills, is to hire for their attitude. Are they positive individuals? And I look for something that we call culture enhancers. Culture enhancers is something I feel I created, and it's somebody that brings joy, positive energy, motivates the entire team. And I have a handful of those in my office. Actually, I think you might have met one of them. Her name is Laura.
Yes.
She is what I consider a culture enhancer. And man, the vibe, the energy in the office is amazing when you have these type of people around.
I love that, culture enhancers. Like, that's a game changer when it comes to hiring. The attitude, it's I think I just got lucky, fortunate with my team, and the fact that they're problem solvers and they approach each issue that comes in about, okay, it's not a negative. It's okay, how do we overcome it, right? And having that positive mindset, and like you said, the energy level of that room is got to be everybody on the same page, a collective together toward a whole goal, which is great. The attitudes, it's fantastic. Bobby, let me ask you this too: motivating team members, because when your acquisitions is on the phone all the time and the TCs are following up like crazy and the sellers are not responding, or they're just giving a hard time, and maybe the team can't close the deal. What are you doing yourself as the leader when your higher ups need that kind of motivation to keep the ball going?
Man, so I more than anything, I talk to them. Hey, what's going on? Let's get these things off your chest. What can I help you out with? For example, for me, that's my superpower, solving problems. So maybe they're down because maybe they can't figure something out. Maybe they're in a slump. So I just talk to them and let them know, hey, it's okay. We're gonna get through this. I've been doing this for a long time. What you're going through is nothing new. And I just remind them that we're here for them, and they have a whole team behind them, and that everything's going to be all right. So definitely, and not only that, I do a lot of special things for my team aside from motivation. We focus on having an amazing culture, so people love working in our office. For example, on birthdays, we're always taking individuals out for lunch. We do a nice quarterly dinner, like at nice restaurants, on a quarterly basis, and we give out trophies to our our top performers. So we just try to make our office fun, so that way their attitude is always good. We try to limit that negative attitude outside the office.
I love that because I did see on Instagram that you guys did go out for someone's birthday, and I'm thinking, wow, what a boss!
Yeah.
Like, this is that person probably feels so appreciated. And then I saw the holiday post that you guys did. I mean, it was a whole thing. It was,
Yeah.
and everybody got around, it had dinner, table was like a special event. It seemed like not just a dinner, it was an experience that you're providing them and
Yeah.
you're showing them saying, hey, like this is what it is to be a part of this team, right? That's the name of the game.
Absolutely.
And I love what you said, quarterly dinners. Um, is the idea behind doing the quarterly dinners just to bring the camaraderie together, to bring the morale up, to show the appreciation? Do you ever do you ever show the team like on PowerPoint and say, this is what we did last quarter, this is the vision, this is what we're doing next, let's eat?
Yeah, so mainly those type of dinners are for camaraderie. I don't really want to talk too much business in those dinners. And again, I apologize for my dog. But yeah, no, it's mainly for, hey, let's come together, let's have a good meal, let's drink some good wine, and let's enjoy each other's company. And mainly me thanking them for everything that they do, and it's just a way for me to pay back. But like for example, we do have meetings on a weekly basis, monthly basis, where we do definitely go over our goals, our metrics. This happened last week. This is what we expect to happen this week. But yeah, that dinner is mainly, it's more hey, straight business. We have an award ceremony where we give out awards to our top performers, maybe our MVP, somebody that stood out, maybe somebody that did something special for a seller that maybe left a lasting impression. We recognize those type of people. And
That's really special.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a different way to do things. And I don't think many people focus on that, right? Because everybody in their business is like every day, grind, 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 grind. And then eventually at the end of the year, they do something, but not every quarter. And that's something with my team that we talked about more. Like eventually in August, we'll all probably meet up at some point and do something, just because it doesn't have to be at the end of the year. Like it shows appreciation for them. And when you're a virtual office,
yeah,
it's really hard to have those kind of meetings when everybody's spread out.
yeah.
So coordinating that is big. And the other thing too that I was kind of it really made me think when we were on the phone the other day, which is you immediately were like, yeah, she's being promoted to this. I'm about to promote her to this. And I feel like that is a rewarding concept that as a leader you implement to continue to reward the people for good work. Um, what is going through your mind when you're like, all right, it's time. We're taking you to another level. We're giving you a different title. How do you approach that?
So I'm really good at finding people's superpowers. So if I have somebody that's a transaction coordinator, but this person is an amazing leader, then obviously I look for things like that, right? And for example, this particular individual always excelling, working above and beyond, motivating the team. So I figured, man, this I gotta eventually make her a leader in my team. And but yeah, it's just mainly keeping an eye on it, man. Not being a CEO that's just there to look at numbers, man. Really looking at your people, seeing what their superpowers are, and making sure that they're there working their hardest and that they're doing something that they like. So um, definitely keeping an eye out for things as a leader, 100% is super important.
Yeah, and finding their superpowers, I can relate to that as well. Is that when you really start seeing what they're good at, what's the next level? What else can you give them, and how else can you help them
Yeah.
in their role, right? Because you want to see them succeed and keep growing. Uh, Let me ask you this, Bobby. When it comes, so one of the terms that it gets floated around on the episodes once in a while is standard operating procedures, which seems to be, a lot of people say it, but maybe not apply it, which is certain steps a business must take to ensure that everybody knows what their role is, who's doing what happens in this certain situation, and it makes it abundantly clear who has that particular task. How are you implementing standard operating procedures with your team?
Yeah, so we a couple of years ago, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Gary Harper. We hired him and his team to help us build out all our systems and processes within our organization. I'm also big on, if you have an employee, or I don't call them employees, team members, and I like them to ultra focus on one thing. Like I've run into other guys in the industry, and they're like, oh no, since we're not doing a lot of volume, I'm doing acquisitions and I'm also doing dispo. I'm like, no, you got to ultra focus on one thing and go hard on it. So that's something that I'm big in my organization is, if you're a lead manager, that's all you're doing. If you're an acquisitions agent, that's all you're doing. If you're a project manager, that's all you're doing. So like we literally ultra focus on everything. Everybody knows what their job and their duties are and their responsibilities. But yes, we hired a company to help us build all the systems and processes out, and they're pretty much managed by my COO.
Really cool. Yeah, having that kind of thing built out from the beginning helps new hires that come in, and they get that training to say, "Hey, this is what we do to follow these rules." And you don't have to keep having team meetings and guessing and coming to the drawing board, because I do get what that's like, right? It's a lot of it adds a lot of chaos that's not needed in the business. And here we go again with this. This is the Bobby Suarez mindset. Team members versus employees. That is a very unique way of seeing that perspective, because it changes the feel of that person and how they are viewed by everybody, versus looking at it as you're on a payroll list, right? So when you're with everybody, that is how you refer to it, right? Team members.
Absolutely. Yeah, it makes me uncomfortable to call people my employees or things like that, because honestly, I don't like it. They're my team members, and what I tell a lot of people, and actually I read this in one of the Patrick David books, that I'm the entrepreneur, but everybody on my team, they're entrepreneurs. They have their own little business within my business, and that's kind of the mentality I teach them. Um, so that way, I don't want them to think that they're just doing this to build my dreams. No, we're doing this to build our dreams collectively, and together we're gonna, make more. We're gonna have a bigger capacity, and we're gonna grow faster. Talking about pay, another thing that I'm really big on is paying your team well, man. That's another thing I hear in the industry where there's people have a lot of turnover. Man, I pay everybody really well from any position, you know. So that's another thing where I think people in our industry have to work on, and definitely pay your people well up front so that you could get top talent. I feel like our industry is a little fragmented in that sense.
Yeah, I think where that's happened is with the VA system, and being able to find people overseas that are really cheap, versus having the quality, right, that you get with somebody that you pay well. And when you pay well, you notice it right away. You notice that hands-on, they go above and beyond. There's a different feel, and they feel rewarded and comfortable with what they're doing. And there's also a different mindset when you pay well, is they feel like they want to be challenged more. I don't know what that is that goes through that mind, other than they just want to feel like they want to take on more with that role, and take that leadership. It's almost like you're giving them
They take ownership.
ownership.
Yes. And another thing, I don't only do it just straight up like salaries or things like that. I incentivize everybody. We're literally, when we close a deal in my office, almost everybody on my team gets paid. where we're all rowing in the same direction. Everybody gets excited when we close new deals. For example, it's not just my acquisition agent. There's a couple people down the line that are excited because even if it's a little bonus, people are getting paid down the line.
Love it, Bobby. Love it.
Yeah.
Bobby, when it comes to software, this is another thing that a lot of investors that do high volume eventually have to really start exploring just for automation, systems, processes, because you just can't handle just files on one drive. You have to really implement it, whether it's lead source or organization. How are you leveraging software for your team?
So our CRM that we use is Salesforce. It's been a game changer. Before this, we had Podio, and nothing wrong with Podio. It worked for us well, but I just feel that Salesforce is a lot more user friendly. It has more capabilities for a bigger type enterprise organization. Definitely, if you're trying to scale, I would definitely recommend making the switch to Salesforce. For example, I have it's called Left Main Salesforce. It's a company that built out their own platform within Salesforce for real estate investors.
Fascinating. And I can tell you that once you get that CRM, it keeps everyone organized. It keeps the flow of files. You know who to follow up with, who's on their tasks. Maybe all of a sudden now you got it done. It keeps all the other programs intact. And with using things like DocuSign and Notarize and all these other platforms that are online, it really helps elevate your business and probably in your employees. It probably helps your team members. It helps them do things the right way too, right? So I love that there. Bobby, got to ask you this. So a lot of investors, when they see the market ebb and flow, a lot of them get scared and maybe they don't know what direction to go. Should they pivot? Should they keep going into their niche harder? Should they start going more commercial or multifamily? With the way that the market keeps fluctuating right now, what would you say? What kind of advice would you give to investors, whether new or high volume, on pivoting in this market?
So multiple things I have recommendations on is focus on what you're good at. If you're good at wholesaling, don't try to get into commercial. Not at least right now. If you're good at fix and flip, don't try to experiment and go into other aspects of the business. So stick to what you're good at and run with it. Go 100% hard with it. As far as, look, the grass is not greener on the other side. People are like, oh, Miami's not good because there's too much competition. Now I'm going to go nationwide. There's pros and cons to leaving your main market where you're at, right? You're stationed at. But yeah, man, focus. I prefer to go deeper in a market than go wider. And like I said, I stick to what I know, man. I have friends of mine that are crushing it in commercial and they're developing, but man, I stick to my gold medal. My gold medal is wholesale, fix and flip, and hard money because it's a vertical integration to my current business. It's not a distraction for me.
Yeah, and I agree, right? I believe that you should go deeper into that niche, and it's because it's working. Why try to pivot away from something that is already working? And there's all this noise out here that you don't need to pay attention to. If it's generating revenue, keep going in. Don't go wider. And with these other markets, right? Like a lot of people talk about how certain markets have all this saturation, yet they may say it, but all of a sudden there's other investors still finding deals in that market, right? Whether it's Miami or Fort Lauderdale. But then again, some of these other outside markets, right? The ones that are nobody's paying attention to end up being hot spots as well. And I'm just curious, what have you seen as like the hottest thing going on in real estate right now?
Like the hottest thing,
niche, anything.
Man, I mean, honestly, for me, it's been the same for a while. It's wholesale. I originally was heavy in fix and flip, and now I just handpick my fix and flips, where they usually, they make me a certain amount of money. I usually only buy a fix and flip unless I'm going to make more than 6 figures. Um, man, it's just keep doing the same thing that I've been doing. You know, um, yeah. We did also mention we did integrate one thing actually, which is novations. We integrated that last year into the business, and it's been effective. So bringing in something new, I would say the hottest thing right now would be novations. I think that saved a lot of guys in our industry.
Yeah, true. A
Yeah.
lot of investors talk about novations right now as, going for that higher retail on the property, just because the numbers work out that way. Yeah, it's great. If that's what's working, you go with it, right? Or you learn and you implement it a certain way. I think that's great. Bobby, I mean, I think that's amazing what you're doing with your team. I think it's fascinating seeing it, witnessing it. For those that haven't seen Bobby, you got to connect with Bobby. And Bobby, I got to say, I love that you're on as the sponsor for NBC6, the Sell to Bobby. That thing was so cool. I mean, that's the kind of thing that I remember being in Miami watching the news, and you see all these news ads, and it's like, well, wait a second, no, Bobby's got the thing on TV. And let's talk about that branding. I mean, right there, that's constantly being in front of people. What has that been like for you, trying to make sure you are in everyone's face by Sell to Bobby and getting that name recognition out?
So my goal, man, it was when we started scaling and when we made the change from outbound to inbound marketing, was when my goal was, when anybody thinks about selling, I want them to think about me. Even if they think that I'm not going to give them the highest offer, they better know who I am. That was my goal. And I think we've kind of accomplished it in South Florida. But yeah, man, I wanted to be in everybody's face. It obligated me to learn a lot about marketing, TV commercials. I got into billboards. I recently signed a contract with Clear Channel, where we're sprinkling about 20 billboards all over South Florida in our target neighborhoods. And we also do direct mail, things like that, and PPC. But yeah, it's, for me, the branding piece is super important.
I agree. I think whenever you're trying to do your own branding, the idea is you want people to think, when they hear that term, that niche, you want them to think your name.
Yep.
Right. And once you've done that, and it goes hand in hand, it's an endless flow. Right. And so when you're doing your Sell to Bobby and getting the name out there, it's resonating with people. And I can tell you, man, it's working. People hear Bobby Suarez. I mean, the name is there. So just know that marketing's working. But follow Bobby on Instagram. You'll be very inspired. So for all the people that are listening, watching, if you have a team and you are always trying to figure out, like, how do we level this up? As an example, Bobby is a perfect example, because his team, he'll post about it. His team members will post about what's going on, how they're doing things, and they celebrate wins, right? You want to do that with your team, is celebrate the wins, and we love it right there. Bobby, this has been awesome. People will follow you. People will get in touch and be inspired. What I've been doing for my show lately is I've been doing these signature questions at the end. Okay. And so we don't go over this with the guests beforehand. We leave it to surprise. So I got 3 of them for you. So cool. Bobby, who do you look for in guidance and mentorship?
In guidance and mentorship?
Yes.
Is that what you said, the last one?
Yes.
So I have a few. So more than anything, God. But if it's an individual, like business per se, I have a few friends of mine that I go to usually for advice. One of them being Marcos. He's actually a huge mentor of mine, and he's actually one of my partners in the new business that we're doing. I always go to my wife too, man. My wife always gives great advice. So
Good.
I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no, that's it. Right there. I love it. What was the best advice you ever heard when starting out in real estate?
The best advice is work hard. And honestly, I know people always say it's probably cliche to say that, but man, I worked 7 days a week when I first started off. And another important trait I think you need to have no fear. I think fear is what holds a lot of individuals down and keeps them in the same place, and that's why they never go anywhere. So work hard and have no fear.
Love it. Yeah, you can't be afraid to be in this industry. You gotta make a jump and
Yep.
that decision to be in it. And I was on the phone with somebody the other day, and I hadn't connected with them in 3 years. And they said they were getting all these deals coming in. And at the time, 3 years ago, I thought, oh, they must be going. They were going hard in it. No, 3 years ago, they had just started, and I
Wow.
was impressed that 3 years fast forward, they're like going, they're getting all these deals, they've hired other people. So what Bobby's talking about is don't be afraid, have no fear, just do it and be consistent with it and stick with it, and you'll be successful. You'll find your way, you'll find your path. Everybody's got their own journey, everybody's got their own way of doing things. It's
Yeah.
not going to be the same for each individual, whatever business you're in, right? Whatever business, you will have your path. It's all about what is your journey. So I love that, Bobby. And now this is a great one for you because I see what you're doing all over social media. So, how are you leveraging social media for your real estate business?
So till a few months ago, I would say probably like 6 months ago, I decided to make a shift to building my personal brand. So even though I'm all over TV and people see me, I'm on billboards because I'm the brand, right? My pictures on everything. I'm on the commercials. I've always been low key, believe it or not, on social media. And my team's like, yo, man, we need to put you out there. I think it'll be great because a lot of our people that are sellers, when they search, they want to know who's really Bobby Suarez. So I made the decision to hire a team, a marketing team, and videographers and all that to put out content for me. So I've been, putting out consistently, reels every day. I try to document different projects that we're doing. I also try to put a lot of my family life, man, because for me that's very important. I always tell people now, man, I try to spend as much time as I can with my family. I take them to school, or my kids. I got two girls. I take them to school every day. I pick them up. I want to be around them as much as I can, right? So, man, building the brand has it's helped magnify what I'm already doing outside in the branding for Soda Bobby. It's just pretty much telling people who Bobby Suarez is more in depth. Right now, I'm not really seeing anything monetarily. Like I would say that it's noticeable. I'm doing it for fun. And eventually I think things will come out of it, whether it's, man, I like Bobby, I want to maybe go work for him. I think it's definitely helped probably with recruiting indirectly. I maybe haven't noticed. Eventually somebody will bring me a deal, or even somebody will need a loan eventually. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to connect with different people, provide free value, and doing it with no intentions really right now.
I love that you're doing it for fun,
Yeah.
right? A lot of times people are looking at it from this other perspective of they have to do it because they must do it to get deals. They must be on social media for an agenda. But for you, you're just like, I'm just gonna, be me and do me. And, like you said, you were low key and the team motivated you to be out there, which is, kudos to the team for doing that, because you are the face, you are the business.
Even me, believe it or not, man, I hated to do public speaking. I hated being on podcasts so recently. So honestly, it's helped me out, man, with being in front of the camera. So now I love it.
Yeah, it's a different ball game looking in the lens, isn't it? It's a completely different feel, but you do it to get the brand out there, the awareness, and eventually, like this episode, it will go out into all the algorithms, and people are looking up the titles, and eventually, like, well, I got to see, well, who is Bobby Suarez, and they'll see, oh, and then all your stuff is popping up, and it's crazy what social media will do, and like you said, eventually it's a long-term play. And you may start getting DMs where people either bring you deals or it's JVing or
Yep.
you never know. But just being out there, I love seeing what you're doing.
I
And
appreciate it.
please keep posting the team stuff. I think that right
Good.
there is the most inspiring for people because all of us want to know how to continue to level up our team. All of us want to continue to level up our business, whether you're in real estate, doing something adjacent, you name it. That's what all of us. It's real estate's a business. What we're doing is business, so it applies to everything.
Yeah. I always tell people, it's funny you mentioned that. The business for me is easy. The people is the hard part. So if you learn how to keep your people happy, the business will be successful. So
Love it. Love it. Well, for everybody that's going to be watching and that's watching right now, you have to check out Bobby. Follow him on Instagram. Bobby, you got to have a YouTube channel eventually where you have a videographer following you around and going through the houses and doing like a Sell to Bobby TV show right there.
I do have a YouTube channel, but not a reality show yet. But yeah, I have a YouTube channel. I think it's Bobby Suarez or Bobby Suarez REI, and I have a ton of content on there also. And I have my own YouTube channel too, the Bobby Suarez Show.
Hey, look at that. So you guys got to check out that podcast, the Bobby Suarez Show. Hey, I'm sure that is another amazing brand for you right there, just to really put the name out there, really connect with people, have conversations. I mean, that's another big thing is podcasts and having fun right there. And I love seeing this, Bobby. It's great. Connect with Bobby.
By the
And
way, I want to have you on, so we got to check our schedules.
let's do that. I'm ready for that.
Whenever you come down to Miami, because we usually film it in a studio together, so we'll coordinate it.
Done. I love that right there. Bobby, as I do at the end of the Al Nicoletti Show, I do a segment called Final Words, Final Thoughts. It's anything from one word to a real deep analysis. You can do whatever you want for this last segment, but I leave this to you to have these parting words for people on the episode that are listening. So as I do, final words, final thoughts, Bobby Suarez.
Final words, final thoughts is, man, like I had mentioned before, have no fear. And if you want to do something, make sure you're determined and get it done. Every day, work towards that goal, and eventually you will be where you want to be.
Love it. We're going to leave it right there. Bobby, you're the man. I'm so happy we got to do this. We got to line up and be on the podcast together. A ton of information. I mean, people are going to have to rewind 3-4 times on these episodes to catch all this stuff and implement it. And implement it, not just listen to it. How do you implement and apply the principles of what Bobby went over? Bobby, thanks so much, man. We are definitely getting together in person. You know it.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me, man.
Really sounds good. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, man.
Take care, man. All right, everybody. And jam-packed episode right there with Bobby Suarez. I mean, you have to listen to this 3, 4, 5 times to get that kind of value out of this, because going from hiring to standard operating procedures to what your team you need to look for with your team and building that. I love what Bobby said. It was that culture enhancers and the attitude about finding those employees. Mind-blowing stuff that all of us need to really think about and implement in our business. I mean, again, we may be doing deals and real estate and getting into all this crazy stuff, but at the end of the day, it boils down to business and finding the right people that are going to boost your level up and boost the whole team up together. You don't want to miss it. And if you love more info and episodes like the Bobby Suarez episode we just had, scan the QR code right there. You get us on the link tree. And it's another wrap on the Al Nicoletti Show. We can't wait to see you next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. You know it, another banger. We'll see you then. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.